Welcome to Summit Artspace. I'm Amy Mothersbaugh. I am the guest curator and juror of the annual Artists of Rubber City show, the regional show. Not all Artists of Rubber City members, anyone was able to submit artwork. Now, when I curate a show and juror a show of such varied and talented artists, I put aside my personal preferences and create an unbiased criteria to judge from. All of the artists who've submitted one and often two pieces of work to the 2020 annual Artists of Rubber City show have made it very tough for me to select who would be on display. I've been very honored to read their statements, moved by their social and impassioned descriptions of their work. All of the entries showed dynamic dedication to the arts. To be an artist in 2020 is to be tasked with a conflict of sharing beauty, hope, tragedy, pain, joy, and even ugly truths. Even so, what an exciting time to share your interpretation of the world through your art. The 2020 Artists of Rubber City annual show started out like every year. Dates announced, submissions reviewed, opening reception planned, all scheduled to occur at their physical location of Summit Artspace in Akron. A pandemic virus, COVID-19, has happened since this process began, and besides time delays of the event, the staff has had to invent a totally new way to show, view, and interact with art that will be their new standard going forward. I'm impressed by the professional Summit Artspace and Artists of Rubber City leaders' concern for everyone's ability to continue safely accessing art and artists. The artists who submitted works for this show comprise a vastly varied set of views and ways to share those ideas. I hope the public who views this show discovers a new way to look at everything around us. The 2020 criteria of judging, intended message of artist, is clearly communicated through the art. Written statement included by artist on application backs up the image. Whatever medium is used is the final piece. Unique, top, skill level, surprising, and moving. 3, the varied subjects of these 2020 submissions fall into a scale of pleasing and soothing to disturbing and provocative. Does the art's visual impact, materials used, artist statement, and image all follow the same suit? Does it feel like the Rubber City, Akron, which isn't required, just a plus in my opinion? We're first going to start with our honorable mentions. First honorable mention is Tristan and Isolde et al. Disappearing by Roger Benedetti, pencil and spray paint. Tristan and Isolde could be also very well be Triolius and Cressida, Paris and Helen, Romeo, Juliet, Cupid and Psyche, Archie and Veronica or Betty, Fred and Wilma, Superman and Lois Lane. Actually, the figures in the drawing are Charles Atlas, posed as a 20th century American colossus of Rhodes, offering hope to every 90-pound weakling, and Betty Page offering something else. Were they just icons of the 1950s kitsch pop archetypes, personifications of femininity, masculinity, sexuality, or simply formulations of something imagined and are now disappearing? Next honorable mention is Daydream by Hope Hickman, acrylic on canvas. Two young friends daydreaming together, floating in a place of bright optimism where they can be at peace. Mountains in the distance with a cascade of rain that never touches the two. Girls illustrate the magic and vastness of the experience and represent the high points in the distance, hope, future, as they exist in a place where flowers grow without rainy days. Honorable mention, What I Remember by Dara Harper, acrylic on canvas. Personal change that leads to growth is always a difficult road. Ironically, in my most vulnerable moments of fighting inevitable change, the Akron I know is also changing. The places of familiarity no longer look the same. A house in my childhood neighborhood had the most beautiful and thriving garden 30 years ago. Recently, I took a walk in the neighborhood. To my shock, the garden was absolutely unrecognizable. Full-grown trees, thistles towering over the corner, and void of color. I began to investigate this visual change in various color palettes and spatial movement. Building upon my memories and experiences, I began to paint symbols of change, juxtaposed in a balance of layered abstraction. Honorable mention, Arm Yourself Against Complacency by Marilyn B. Dierig, mixed media, acrylic and paper collage. This painting was inspired by an article on gun violence in the newspaper with the caption, "Complacency kills at home." I had to ask myself, how do you fight complacency? I must resist being complacent. I must address it by taking a direct look at it. I had to say in a secret message that you can read if you know sign language, because people are sensitive about the subject and resist any changes to the laws or the status quo. So much resistance everywhere. The idea of resisting mindlessness is inspired by an artist friend of mine who passed away recently, who was very passionate about his art. This one's for you, Dawn. Third place winner of the show, If Only You Had by Cassie Hart. Mixed media, ink, gouache, acrylic, graphite. The gardener may elect to ignore the invasive vines as they grow and twist in a struggle to reach sunlight. Planted flora and weeds alike are knitted together at the root, bound and bent, blinded and suffocated. The tangles tighten their hold when struggled against. To ignore the weeds is to suffocate, but wrenching them carelessly from the soil leaves the seed of a broken root behind. The only chance we have to live harmoniously with the greenery, learning from weeds, we once tore at and carefully cultivating the most beautiful of their blooms. Congratulations. Second place winner, Big Top by Todd Burgert, oil. I've always been fascinated with circuses, especially as a kid. In the early years of the last century, they seemed to magically pop up in the countryside, and also in a lot of fiction of that era. I tried to evoke some of that mystery of the time by giving the painting a vintage look. Congratulations, Todd. And the moment you've been waiting for, the first place award goes to Blue and White Pottery with Sunflowers by Sharon Mazgash. This piece is colored pencil. When arranging a still life, I first come up with what I consider a powerful composition. With this arrangement, I liked the play of the organic form of the sunflowers against the hard, shiny pottery. I thought the yellow and blue colors complemented one another and decided to limit this piece to those two main colors. I spent over 100 hours on a colored pencil piece this size and worked from my own reference photos. Congratulations, Sharon. Thank you to everyone who tuned in and is watching this presentation. There is at least a half a dozen, maybe a dozen pieces that you need to find a way to safely come and view the art in person. Quite a few pieces that you'll want to see up close. A big thank you to Summit Artspace and to the artists of Rubber City. I'm Amy Mothersbaugh. Thank you.